you everyone for coming to see us. This has become a bit of a tradition. Wiliot has been coming to this show for the last 3 years as the Ambient IoT standard has been under construction. Has anyone been to one of these presentations before? No? Okay, one. Very good. Well, thanks for coming back. I was born in 1962, and so a lot of my friends have started to retire. A few of them have passed away. Very sobering. And for me, it has caused me to think about, well, how do I want to spend my time? Who knows how long we all have left? I definitely wanted to be here, and I appreciate you spending your time to be here. We actually have a team over at Grocery Shop, one of the other shows that are going on. But for me, this show is really special. I have this theory that as technologists, we're all frustrated rock stars, and that certainly in my case, never became a rock star. And the similarity is we want to create something that other people enjoy and use. And this ecosystem, the telco ecosystem, is really uniquely qualified to get technology in the hands of every adult in the planet. You think about how ubiquitous the smartphone is and the impact it's had on people's lives. A lot of positives, some negatives as well. If we're going to change the way things are done, then what better industry to be in? And I consider the people that come to this conference as being the people that are on the leading edge, that are taking an interest in the way standards are going. So we come here to try and spread the word about what we're working on, which is the ambient Internet of Things. It's going to be part of Release 19, and it's also, AI has become an integral component of it, and so we're going to go into that, and I'm going to explain what we view of as being ambient IoT. I've got quite a few slides on that, so I'm hoping you leave that with a clear view, at least what we think about it. AI is a necessity if you're raising money, and it's a necessity if you're going to compete. So what's the relationship between ambient IoT and AI? You'll get our view on that. There's some amazing standards work, and it's not just going on in 3GPP. So I'll give you our view of each of the standards around ambient IoT and where it is and when we expect it to bear fruit. I'm going to take my life in my hands. I run marketing at Wiliot. Doron is an engineer, and he works with our customers implementing the systems. And one thing I've always learned is never do a live demo, and especially don't do a live demo in front of a bunch of people. So I'm going to break that rule and show you ambient IoT in action, show you some of the work that Doron's done on LLMs integrating with AI. So you'll get a chance to see that. And then if I give him enough time, and I guess we need to start the clock, if I give him enough time, we will get a chance to hear how this works under the covers, how the ambient IoT works at a high level, and how ambient IoT can integrate with an LLM like the thing that we call Willybot, which I realized we were going to have a Willybot cut out here, but so I don't know. Maybe Willybot will appear. It's kind of cute. It looks a cross between BB-8 and our logo. And then lastly, and not least, how can this technology actually do something important? We're going to focus on climate change, but there's plenty of other opportunities to make a significant difference in people's lives with this. So to make it more fun, there's going to be a contest. We're going to be giving away one of my favorite products, other than our product, which is this next generation of AirPod. It's the one where you can actually turning it into a hearing aid, which for me at 62 might come in handy. But it also has the ability to filter out ambient noise. See what I did there? Filter out the ambient noise. So So how are we going to do it? We are going to ask you 4 questions. And I kind of feel guilty springing this on you, so I'm going to try and make it as easy as I possibly can. And we'll probably, I'm guessing a number of people will get the right answer, and so we'll just randomly select someone and give you the AirPods at the end, and we'll try and have enough time for Q&A. So to make it easy, I'm going to try and cram the entire presentation into 5 minutes, and the answers will be in that 5 minutes. And then you can just relax and hopefully enjoy the rest of the show. So everyone's an AI company now. Ask anyone in this show whether they're an AI company, and I think they would say yes. But there's a new AI, and it's AIoT, Ambient IoT, that is, we think of it, it's like a part of the body. It's the central nervous system for AI. If you've got this incredible brain, what do you want to do with it? You don't want to keep it in a jar. You want to have it connected to the world. And so, yeah, AI gets the visibility, but beneath the water, there is the world of food, clothing, medicine, car parts, house parts. And those are largely shut off from AI. We may write about them, we may video them, but what I'm talking about is a direct connection between the inputs that we can get from the everyday things that we use in healthcare, in our jobs, to sustain us, to have fun, and this incredible intelligence. So Ambient IoT is the opportunity to do that. It's going to do it with the help of standards. And we have Ambient IoT not just as part of Release 19 of 5G Advanced, but we have it as part of Bluetooth today. So I'm going to demonstrate Ambient IoT as it's being deployed at significant volume. So later this month, we'll announce our project with Royal Mail, founded in the era of Henry VIII. Their first innovation was the postage stamp. So that tells you how old they were, the penny black. But they've deployed Ambient IoT tags, 2.5 million of them, on 850,000 rolling cages, which they have a real-time view of without any tapping or scanning. And it's helping them reduce the number of trucks they have, helping them to get the save on fuel, save on labor, and get the post to where it needs to be on time by having a real-time view of their network. So that's available now. Wi-Fi, there's something called 802.11bp, 802.11bp, which will be, if everything goes to plan, will be formalized in beginning of 2026. And the 5G Advanced implementation should be, theoretically, will be done end of 2025, but I've put 2026 there because I'm 62 and I'm skeptical. But I am optimistic that it's going to make a tremendous difference. So the other thing that, what are the mega trends that are happening? Well, we may not see it, for those of us who are based here, may not pay that much attention to what the EU is doing with their legislation. They like to legislate a lot. One of the rules that they've come up with is around digital product passports. And so, we've all heard of the digital twin. How many people have seen a digital twin? Well, you have now. So these are Ambient IoT digital product passports that are associated with things. And they're basically web pages that have information about the thing. And these web pages come from apps. This one is from Trustwell. It's a food safety app used to track food safety compliance. This one is from iFood.ds. And it's basically a unique profile of the eggs, of the crate of lettuce, where it's been, how it's been treated. And in the event of a food emergency, that helps with traceability and surgically getting to where the problem lies. So we think digital product passports will be big. Okay, so that's basically the summary of the key messages for the presentation. Everything else is just gravy. AI, central nervous system, provided by Ambient IoT. Release 19 is going to be when you will see the first of the Ambient IoT support. I don't think it's going to be a one and done thing. I'm certain of it. So we'll see it more Ambient IoT in release 20 and 6G. And then digital product passports will be big. So I've done all this. I haven't even introduced ourselves properly. So Duran and I work for a company called Wiliot. Will IoT, some people say, but we say Wiliot. You can say whatever you like. And what we're enabling is visibility that doesn't require people to tap or scan things, that doesn't have a handheld or a choke point, and basically enables a whole network of low-cost commodity radios that are already around to be used to track the things that are there. We're going to be talking about RFID, which is really a predecessor to Ambient IoT, and I'll try and highlight the differences. But as a company, we've got about 240, 250 employees. We have some amazing customers. 800 people have bought our product, maybe 50 Fortune 500. And we have very large deployments with 2 of the Fortune 5 companies. Our product is a battery-free Bluetooth tag. You can see the underside of it. That's sort of antenna. There are 3 lobes to a Bluetooth harvester. That's where we get the energy from. We harvest energy from radio waves, a Bluetooth broadcaster, and a sub-gigahertz harvester. And all of that costs roughly 30 cents today, and beginning of next year, down to 10 cents. So every generation, it's come down to by about half to a third of the previous generation's price. So Gen 1 was about 90 cents. Gen 2 is about 30 cents, Gen 3, 10 cents. And every generation, the performance has doubled. The IP is amazing. I say that as someone who hasn't developed the product. The engineering of the chips is done in Israel. We have cloud development done all around the world. We have more cloud developers than chip designers. We have free firmware for third parties that make the readers, and we provide the chips at cost to companies that want to make the tags. So we make no money from tags, we make no money from readers. What we sell is the cloud service that distills a torrent of packets that is constantly being broadcast from these Bluetooth tags, and we turn them into business events that tell people if a product has been left out of cold storage when it should be put away, if it's been arrived in the right place. So location events, temperature events, we can sense light, we can sense humidity. So that's basically the corporate presentation. We have amazing investors. You can see their logos down there. I won't read them to you. So I've been talking loosely about ambient IoT. If I was to ask you to define it, how would you define it? It's taken me a long time to get to this. And one way of looking at it is in contrast to where we've been before. The previous century, supply chains, and really largely now, supply chains are in the dark, and then occasionally someone with a reader comes and scans something, or you go through a choke point. But what we're essentially getting is snapshots. And what this is about is continuous visibility without people having to do anything, by using the radios that surround us and enabling what Gartner Group call omniscient retail. So this kind of godlike view of everything, everywhere, all at once. It was covered by the Wall Street Journal 2 years ago, a front page of the technology section. We were delighted to have a couple of photographs and to be mentioned in it alongside a bunch of much larger companies. Another way of thinking about this is the Internet of Things as it was meant to be. I mean, the original vision wasn't, oh, we're going to connect cars and we're going to connect washing machines. It was, we're going to connect every single thing that we care about. And essentially what we're doing is lowering the cost of tags, we're lowering the cost of the infrastructure and using the radios that surround us in order to read things. And the Oscar winner 2 years ago, I guess, Everything Everywhere All at Once is kind of the way I remember this. But you can go back to the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition: ambient, existing or present on all sides. So the things that surround us, talking to the radios that surround us, and the ability to bring online things that have been offline. And I think in a few years' time, we'll, in the same way now our kids take the internet for granted. They can't even conceive of a world without the internet. We will think it's strange that medicine was offline and we didn't know whether someone had taken their medicine, and we had no idea whether a case of meat had been sitting out of cold storage for half an hour or whether it had been put away. Same with fruit and vegetables. That stuff affects how long it lasts, and it affects flavor and it affects safety, and it should be monitored. So ambient really is just about low cost. And getting rid of batteries is a typical characteristic. You can have ambient without harvesting energy from radio waves. Harvesting energy from radio waves is probably the hardest place to get energy. The easiest place is light. That's a very strong energy source. And people are making ambient readers that work by harvesting light and kinetic energy. But we really like harvesting radio waves because you don't have to have line of sight. It's the cheapest tag. Our chip, next generation chip, we'll be launching it in Q1. Costs 6 cents. 6 cents, and it's a multi-core processor. It does end-to-end encryption. It has temperature sensing, tamper detection for 6 cents. And so we can do that low-cost core because it's RF harvesting. But ambient IoT is more than just sort of accidentally, there's energy everywhere. It requires design and purpose and strategy. Yes, we're using the commodity radios, but we need the standards so that the energy is available in a predictable way at the right frequency. We need edge hardware the fact that your fridge has a Bluetooth radio, the fact that your smart speaker has a Bluetooth radio makes it a candidate to be part of the ambient IoT network, but it needs the right firmware on it. You can't harvest energy from a radio that's off. It has to be broadcasting. It has to be broadcasting a way that makes it a good citizen. So phone manufacturers, smart speaker manufacturers, they need to figure out, there's a reason for us to invest in making this network work. And this ecosystem has an incredible opportunity to establish the rules of the road, the protocols and the standards to make that happen. And also it's a matter of evolving the performance of the tags. 10 years ago, this wouldn't have been possible. We couldn't have built chip technology that was sufficiently low power to work. These tags are so low power that when we first developed them, we had to have them tested by universities because standard silicon production techniques didn't have the testing ability. And even a photon from a light source could disrupt the performance of these tags. We did our pre-production demo at National Retail Federation, and we had our first set of major retailers come in. Everything stopped working because the sun had come up and there was too much light in the room, and suddenly all these photons were disrupting our tags. So we now have light blocking, and we've designed the silicon so that's not a problem. But at its simplest, we're going from visibility of assets and inventory using snapshots and limited visibility to using all these radios that surround us to have continuous visibility. We're going from a dot to a line. So the line is a continuous set of tracking information that can then be analyzed by the cloud. So sounds familiar. Isn't this what RFID does? Yes. What ambient IoT is a form of radio frequency identifier, but it's not RAIN RFID, it's not Gen 2 RFID. This data is transmitted using Bluetooth radios, so anything with a Bluetooth radio can read it. But I'm not here to say that RAIN RFID is worse or better than ambient IoT. It's like saying that a screwdriver is better than a hammer. For the next few years, There'll be times when you use one technology and other times when you use another technology. One way of looking at that choice is to say, what is the value of the asset? I described the price of our tags. 10 cents is pretty good for an ARM processor with RAM, ROM, flash memory, but it's 2 or 3 times the price of an RFID tag. So if you've got a very low cost thing, then that's a good reason for considering RFID. If you've got a higher value thing, then that's a reason for considering ambient IoT. If the locations where you want to track that thing are many, then the infrastructure cost becomes more important. And with ambient IoT, sometimes the infrastructure is free. You've already got a phone. You've already got a smart speaker. Whether that's ready to play is a question. More and more, the answer is yes, but sometimes the answer is no. But basically, RFID readers are 10 or 100 times more expensive than the kinds of devices that we have. This is what Royal Mail have in their trucks. So this is about $50 versus about $1,000 for an RFID reader. Now, you can get into a lot of detail, but the principle is if you've got a lot of locations, then, and the value is low, then probably you're talking barcodes. But if the value is higher, then that's when ambient IoT is the clear winner. And then there's kind of sections where you could use either. And then you have to look at other factors like, do I want sensing? Do I want temperature and light sensing? These tags use end-to-end encryption. So that is something that you don't get as standard with RFID. They're active radios, they're FCC certified because they're constantly harvesting and they're constantly broadcasting. But we've just started this journey. Wiliot's 7 years old, but really Gen 2 is when the technology became viable. And so we only have tags today that work well on cardboard, paper, and plastic. And we have some partners that have started building tags that work with vaccine vials and auto injectors. But RFID has a catalog of tags that work on everything. So that's another thing that you need to consider. And then you have to sort of think about, well, do I want to go into the home? RFID is probably, maybe one day, there'll be broad distribution of phones that read RFID, but I don't think there's ever going to be a day when your washing machine and your smart speaker read RFID. So if you eventually want to go to the home, then think about an ambient IoT strategy. So these are all the dimensions to think about. Standards are really key to moving forward. And as I say, Bluetooth out of the box, we didn't have to change anything. It just works. At the physical layer, our tags harvest energy from Bluetooth and broadcast Bluetooth. And the SIG has been amazing, the special interest group that helps curate the standards and promote the technology. And they have an estimated addressable market of 10 trillion units. Now that's a lot. If we think about how many phones that are sold, a couple of billion a year maybe, 35, 40 billion RFID tags, throw in a few more IoT devices. So that makes the current IoT market about 50 billion units sold a year. And so we're talking about 3 orders of magnitude addressable market. Is it going to happen overnight? No. Will we get to 10 trillion? I don't know, but it's big. So that's a picture of our CTO with the people that invented Bluetooth. And what I'm saying here is the process is not standing still. So we think there's more juice out of the Bluetooth lemon, and we can reduce the cost of edge devices. We can reduce power consumption, so you don't have to have as big a solar panel on the top of your trailer. And so there's more work going on there. Wi-Fi is super interesting. Competition's a good thing, so this is another option. When this comes to bear, then and we're contributing to all of these standards because today I think we're unique in offering this solution, and that's wonderful. For a sales guy, you're unique, that sounds good, but it's actually an issue. If we're going to get to trillions, we can't do it on our own. We need a big ecosystem. We need competition. And so opening this up and getting Cisco and Aruba and Mist, the enterprise AP vendors, not just standing on the sidelines, but jumping into the core of this is amazing. We'll see longer range, and we'll see the benefit of all of those marketing dollars from companies that have direct relationships with every CTO in every company in the world. But then you've got the real giant, which is us. What industry receives a $50 check from every adult on the planet? Give or take. Some people pay more, me. Some people pay less. But this is an incredible marketing force. So, I think we're seeing this move forward unbelievably quickly. It's certainly not us that's driving it forward quickly. We're contributing. The Chinese vendors have an intense sense of purpose in moving this forward. I think what we're going to see initially will be maybe not the active radios that we are using today, which have the advantage of being able to absorb energy from weak signals and broadcast a strong signal. We may see backscatter as an alternative, so I'm expecting a bit of confusion. Backscatter is where you take a strong signal from an expensive edge device and you reflect back a weak signal. We do the opposite. We take a weak signal, we accumulate the energy, and we send out a strong signal. So what about AI? AI is amazing. If you've got savings for your pension, then you're getting the benefit of NVIDIA's stock price rise, but it does have a challenge around utility and usefulness. It's like a land rush, it's a gold rush, but what are the use cases that are going to deliver value? And it's running out of data, and a lot of the data is hearsay, it's not reliable, and hallucinations that's one of the reasons why we get hallucinations. It's not the only one. So I don't know if anyone recognizes that image, but it's from one of my favorite films, 12 Angry Men. And they're arguing about what reality is, what actually happened. And this is, so we have a lot of data, and the unlock of value is tremendous. Think about what we can do in healthcare if we cut out all of the peaks and troughs of that supply chain. If we know if people have taken their medicine, if we have active bandages that can report chemistry changes and temperature changes. There are some supply chains that are massively bloated, even with all the cutting and the lean McKinsey work that has gone on. If you can see everything in a supply chain, not just from the manufacturer, the distributor, but how products are being used in the home. The Amazon Dash button built into every salt and pepper shaker, then we can massively reduce cost. We can massively reduce carbon. We can track things. We can reduce crime. We can have much better food traceability. That all sounds like pie in the sky. Today, what we're solving for our customers is tracking shipping and receiving events, and doing it in a very low-cost way. So this is the kind of thing that basically gets you better on-shelf availability, less misshipments, and that's what we can do today. So I wanted to give you a quick demo, and then I'm going to hand over to Daron. So we have, can we switch over to my phone now? So when you're ready. So what I am, maybe not. This worked before you all came in the room. So if you could just all go out again, and then I'll tell you when it starts working. Well, okay, maybe not. Cursed yourself. Yeah, I did. Reseat it. Reseat the computer. Reseat the computer. Okay. Oh, hold on a second. I think what's happened is the computer went to sleep. Yeah, so we need to log in. So it's not you, it's not me, it's the computer, but I don't know what the password is. So. Okay. Just talk amongst yourselves. So what I'm going to show you is Living Web. It's a browser that we wrote in marketing. We're open sourcing it, and it's basically a digital product passport browser. So what's that? It's basically we use it listens to the broadcast from tags, it hears them, it tells you what's nearby, and it shows the web pages that are, it shows you the web pages.
There you go.
Oh. Yeah, but unfortunately it's not seeing my phone now. Best intentions. Hooray! Okay, so this is real. You can see yourself here. Now I have, so this will look a little bit, I showed you that video before. So basically each of these, this is my remote control, which I'm always losing at home for my light system. This is a tag that goes on fruit and other food products. This digital product passport you can't see because it's got encryption and we don't have access to it. So this is an example of access control. And this is a passport that's associated with my passport. So I tend to lose it and I get very upset when that happens. And this is a digital product passport that's associated with the lettuce. If I just take the, well, let's take this one as an example. So if I tap on this, I can bring it into the foreground and we can see the logo. So I'm based in San Diego and it's tracked using the GPS of my phone. The fact that this has moved to Las Vegas. If I go to my real passport, it's traveled a lot more. I've been carrying it around with me for the last few weeks, and you can see these are all the cities that I've been to, and then we kind of zoom in, and this is actually Las Vegas here. I won't zoom out, so that is that's the passport, and we can actually look at the temperature history as well. So temperature over time, lifetime, last month, last week. So that is what a digital product passport looks like. Now I'm going to do something even scarier. I'm going to install another version which is allowed to see the shrimp. So let me do that. And it may take a while, so I may need to come back. No, actually, cellular is an amazing thing. Okay, so this is what you get when you start this. And our goal is to get this on the App Store next year. And we're going to be working with some of our customers in the short term. So now, if I'm lucky, then suddenly I can see data associated with the shrimp because the access control is such, and I can't see anything from these guys at all. So the cool thing about this is I've got this little widget. I've got, so this is Willy Bot. It's Duron's fault. He came up with the name. And it allows me to talk. We have this marketing term, what if your products could talk? And I'm going to say, I'm going to ask this shrimp that's been sitting out here, is this product safe to eat? Now, it basically needs to understand what safe means. And no, it's not safe to eat. Why? So now it's looking back and it's telling me the time and the duration that where the problem occurred. So now let's sort of move into this regional manager persona, and I'm going to ask, where else are there issues? So Duron's very nervous because every time I give this demo, I ask the questions differently. And so it turns out this is not an isolated incident. And I could have asked this question. I could have said, where are there opportunities for improvement in the supply chain? It would have given me slightly different answer. But let me ask a final question. What's the carbon footprint of this product? So now we're talking to the product that a case of shrimp 2439. So how could it work that out? Well, basically, if you know the distance and the mode of transport of a product, if you've flown this thing halfway around the world, if you've kept it for 6 months in a freezer, that carbon footprint is going to be a lot bigger than the carbon footprint of something that's come locally and has not been stored for a long period of time. So we're working on this algorithm. I'm going to stop demoing. I'm going to hand the reins over to Doron, and he's going to give you a racing tour of how the technology works. Doron, over to you.
Sweet. Can you hear me, guys? All right, cool. I'll try to be as fast as possible. I think we saw just a demo now of the bot and how it interacts with real physical things. I'll try to sort of embark you on a journey of the relationship between physical things, digital things, the connection of them via AI and Ambient IoT. So I'll try to be really fast. I think everything starts with our ambient data platform. This is the cloud architecture, kind of like really high level, which is fully API managed, that allows our customers to get insights and transparency, real time, via from their physical things. So that's a sort of a funnel. And how this works, I think we saw, I actually have it on my phone. You see this little tag here with the antennas that Steve showed. This basically sends some raw signals. We call them packets. It measures temperature, the location, humidity, all these things. And in the cloud, really like the magic happens using AI or machine learning. We convert these packets, these raw signals, into literally whatever we want. We call these things actually events, but events can be anything. If we separate them down into raw events and business events, let's first talk about raw events. They can be raw signals such as the location, the geolocation of it, and things more granular. We can talk about the core sensing, such as the humidity, the temperature, and even more deployment-related signals, such as the network status, if there's an interference between the radio frequencies and all that. We can take those and we can take the other aspect of them, which is the business events, and then it's just pretty much endless possibilities, because we can take those events and we can use machine learning to actually come up with whatever the customer wants. So it can be, for example, if you want to know when an asset actually arrived to a specific space, or if you want to know if it's under temperature compliance, or if it's fresh, if it's safe to eat, all these things. So we can actually use machine learning on that raw data to do pretty much whatever we want. I know it's kind of a lot. I'm just giving you the kind of like the spiel of it. So I guess the take from this is, using machine learning, we can allow things to speak. Those tags, those physical things, this lettuce that is fake, can speak to us. Now I think the real magic with generative AI is how we can actually talk to these things, the communication. So generative AI is obviously, as you all know, is transforming the way we interact with technology. But with Wiliot, actually, it's not just technology, it's actually how we interact with physical things. Now, we spoke about WillyBot, which I think is a great name, but just gonna give you maybe a brief overview about LLMs, large language models. We're all familiar with them, but we're familiar with this black box, the model. Here it's an illustration of a multimodal model, which means that it takes text, video, audio, or images, and outputs the same thing. Now, this thing that we're building here that actually interacts with physical data is not just an LLM, it's an agent. Now, that's also like a colloquial thing, and people talk about this across different AI applications. I maybe just give you a little bit an overview of what an agent is and what WillyBot actually is. So the big thing is like the definition of WillyBot, which is a generative AI agent. It's an application really that tries to achieve a goal by observing real-time physical data coming from the Wiliot IoT pixels via the ambient data platform that we support. So it's a communication channel. That's the way at least I see it. Now, we can the bot itself acts on data such as temperature and location, and it uses some set of tools to actually come up with some insights. So if we take another step deep inside the architecture, we can see that the bot itself is an agent. The agent has a model. Our model can be anything. It can be an OpenAI model. It can be a Llama model, open source, a Wiliot-specific fine-tuned model. And it has a set of tools. The tools really are the real power. That's what we can enable the model to do all these amazing things, such as calculate carbon footprint or decide freshness, all these things. And they're all combined via a reasoning loop that allows this agent sort of to think and know what to do. So I'm getting a little bit more technical, but also doing this on a high level, so bear with me. Just an example, the user asks a question and this agent comes up with something and generates a response. Let's go over an overview of this. For example, the agent says, I want to know which projects to sell. Now, the agent, this Willybot, what it does behind the scenes, the engine is a large language model, but the reasoning loop says to itself, let's step into the shoes of the Willybot, I want to know which projects to sell. So the thought is I should search for fresh products. What do I need to do that? I would take an action and use a tool called Fresh Products. That's a tool we designed. Say that tool gave it needs some sort of an input, such as the store number or the type of the product, and it gives back an observation. This tool returns a list of fresh products. So the thought of the bot, okay, I need to present this list of products to the user, and that's the final answer. So I think we can think about this like the events. It's an analogy. The tools can be anything. Anything we want to design. It's very custom made. It can be API calls. It can be data stores such as knowledge-based data. All of these combined. I think like this is kind of like my overview of this. I genuinely believe in that. Ambient IoT actually gives products, physical things, an ability to talk. Generative AI actually allows us to speak to them and interact with them. And the entire funnel is the data platform. And this is how we allow the physical things and us actually to communicate. I call this a revolution of data. So, yeah.
Very good. Doron, thanks very much.
Yeah.
So, thanks for developing Willybot. So I want to end with something of consequence and talk a bit about climate and ambient IoT. I believe that ambient IoT is one of the most effective and potent tools that we have to fight climate change, which is something that is affecting this country as we speak. You know, I don't know how you feel when you read announcements like this. It doesn't matter whether you're a conservative or a liberal. You know, big oil company says they're going to cut their greenhouse emissions in 2050. What do you think? It's like, sure. This is going very slow, and people's houses are burning down and they're being blown away, and the flooding is occurring. Well, we had a consultant who helped us generate the algorithms that we use for real-time carbon footprinting, and he showed me this slide. And Mike Berners-Lee is actually the younger brother of Sir Tim, who invented the World Wide Web. He's a climate scientist based out of Lancaster University. He wrote this amazing book, How Bad Are Bananas? And basically, the premise is most of us are carbon illiterate. You know, we know what things cost roughly. This whole like games about guess the price of this thing, but guess the carbon. I mean, I think most of us, including me, are really in elementary school. So he wrote a book on that basically tells you the carbon footprint of everything. But it's and the idea was, you know, we need to understand what's high carbon and low carbon if we're going to manage it. You know, you measure, you get what you measure, but if you can't even measure it, how can we do anything about what's happening? And we're going to leave it to someone else? So the idea is ambient IoT allows you to not just know what the carbon footprint is of a banana, and it can do that. You know, there are Mike's team has actually come up with this exhaustive list of the intrinsic carbon footprint of a banana. But actually, one banana's carbon footprint can be very different based on how it's traveled and how it's been stored. So, okay, we can agree or disagree about whether this is an issue, but there's data that says that companies that take this seriously and make claims on sustainability that can be verified sell more stuff. So you don't even need to believe it. It is good business. And one of the reasons why it's good business is that carbon is cost. So if you think about how we measure the cost of things, do we really measure all of the handling? I mean, we try to, but how do we allocate all of the transportation and the storage? And if we can get scientific about measuring carbon, we can break down a supply chain and we can start to produce graphs like this. This was produced using Ambient IoT, and it's just the part of the supply chain from the distribution center to the store. And we look at the energy consumed in storage and transportation. If we can give consumers this information, the 50% that believe in this stuff and care will vote with their purses and wallets. So if you want to sell things to that half, then this is an amazing tool to get people's loyalty. I go to an organic food store because they have little signs that say this came from a farm down the road, and I think, well, maybe this won't kill me if it came, from a natural place. And I pay probably twice as much for that product. So you can charge more, but also you can manage costs down if you have data in the hands of everyone in the enterprise. I'm not just talking about an end-of-year roundup. I'm talking about a daily readout for everyone about their product, their store, their supply chain. So there's a vision here. It's not the reality. We need to share the idea of real-time carbon footprint, which is just one of many apps on an Ambient IoT data platform. We need to develop methodology standards so that this is robust and can't be misused by people that want to cheat the system. We need to start using GS1 EPCIS, for instance. That's a way of sharing data up and down the supply chain. It's not used much at the moment because up until now you haven't been able to capture that data. But now with the EU Digital Product Passport legislation, it's going to be a requirement to share the data. And we, as Wiliot, need to get customers that will spread this virally. And I think, one of our first public customers, Royal Mail, they're connected with every business and every individual in the United Kingdom, and they've signed up and they want to tell you the carbon footprint of the delivery and share that information. So I'm optimistic. Now we have time for the contest. So these are the questions. So have a read through this, and if you think you know the answer to these questions, then raise your hand, or you can actually just walk up to the microphone. So what body part illustrates Ambient IoT's link with AI? What body part? What version of 5G will support Ambient IoT? I think that's probably the easiest one. What version of Wi-Fi, probably the hardest one, will support Ambient IoT? And approximately, what is the size of the digital product passport opportunity? Anyone know the answer to all of those questions? You want to? Okay. English would be a little bit better.
Okay. The number 2 is
Release 19.
The number 3 is BP.
Yes, BP.
The size of the digital passport is 1 inch.
Well, that's the size of a digital product passport. What's the size of the digital product passport opportunity?
Big.
Yes. And then what was the answer to number 1? Okay. Anyone think that they...
Number 1, nerve.
Yeah, nervous system.
10 trillion.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir, but I got a valiant try. Round of applause for our winner.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being game, starting the bidding. Okay, so those were the answers to the questions. Next steps. I passionately believe this is the biggest opportunity I've ever worked on in my career. I've been very fortunate in my career and worked on a bunch of fun stuff. So what do we do? I think we have to share knowledge. That's really key. We need to share data. We need to try and persuade people to share data up and down the supply chain. Just knowing more information about your bit of the supply chain is not going to give us the ability to take 2 days, add another 2 days of shelf life onto strawberries. We need to know from farm to distributor to store and even in the home. And we need to figure out how we reward people and respect people when we share the data. I believe before we're allowed into people's drinks cabinets, medicine cabinets, wardrobes, we need to show that we can deliver real benefit that will help people's lives. And actually, pragmatically, we need to show that there's money to be made from this technology. So I hope you agree with at least some of that. If you're interested, then obviously, our website, check it out. Please start the conversation in your company about what to do, about taking advantage of this. Build a group, build a business around it. My side hustle, it's not really a hustle because I give all the advertising revenue away to a local charity because it really pays me. There's a podcast I do called Mr. Beacon, the Ambient IoT podcast, and we're getting some good guests. The Bluetooth SIG, just recorded an interview. Bluetooth 6 is coming out, some amazing capabilities, really precise location. They're talking about that. One of our squad leaders was on the other day, and he's talking about his experiences of deploying ambient IoT. And Peter Goodman, who's the global economics correspondent from the New York Times, was on, and he's just a hoot. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And I think we've got a few minutes for questions, if anyone has any. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I lived in Costa Rica. I'm from Costa Rica.
Yes.
And producing banana is actually a big deal for us there, right?
Yes.
But do you think company wants to disclose that kind of information? Start tracking all this. It's kind of backfired in a way, right? Proof is everything.
Yeah, I think sharing data, there's a lot of examples of people not wanting to share data because it's power. But I think with legislation, like the EU legislation, it's not really an option. Now, admittedly, that DPP legislation does not encompass bananas. So the dole are okay. They don't need to share the data. But I believe there is significant value. At the end of the day, everyone wins. If we can take 2 days, add another couple of days of shelf life to every product, and believe me, we are seeing things that no one has seen before in terms of how products are mishandled, not through negligence. It's just we're human beings. So if we can add automation and we can make a first in, first out really a first in, first out, or even a first expired, first out, then there's huge savings. But it's going to require an exchange of data. And because this data is encrypted, it's not like RFID where you can sucker someone into paying for the tag further upstream and then you use it. We're going to have to actually collaborate because you're not going to get anything out of this tag unless you've got permission to see the data. And that's going to drive a conversation upstream and downstream. So it's a fair point. I'm betting on eventually profit will win out and there is a profit motive for sharing data. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I work in operationalizing technology in industrial settings.
Yes.
So I work with a lot of large manufacturers and distribution centers, and this is super cool stuff, but it's a leapfrog or maybe even a double leap from where a lot of
That's true.
my clients are today.
Yeah.
How much work or how do you work with customers on getting their infrastructure to the point where they can implement something like this?
Yes, we have to. So, I think eventually there's going to be a huge industry with systems integrators that will do that and consultants. So this is like just a huge opportunity for solution providers and consultants. But yeah, you have to do a survey, you have to look at the infrastructure, and that has to be part of an ROI. You need to model it before you do anything. It's like, where is the problem? There's so many things, you can connect everything, but where do you start and where is the biggest return? And Royal Mail, there'll be a case study on the 21st if I do my team and I do our job properly. And I love what they did to digitize their postal system, because they focused on cost savings use cases first. How can we save fuel, trucks, labor, before they did the revenue generating, which is the value added services, seeing where it's charging more so for real-time visibility. So there's a bunch of strategy. To be frank, one of the difficulties about this is not a tweak to how things are done. It really requires the CEO and even board level visibility. And it requires today quite a lot of sophistication. So we've focused on the really large companies who have that capacity. And today we're just focused on the European and US markets. I can't wait till we can go to Chile and Brazil and these amazing markets too. So it will take time. My prediction is that eventually, it will be very hard for any postal service to look and see what Royal Mail have done and say, I don't think so, not for us. The very first few are the brave ones, and they will have scuffed their knees and make mistakes, but they'll also have first mover advantage. And it'll take a couple of years for the pattern to be clear. Now, there's no debate about whether you put Wi-Fi in a venue like this. It's just you do. They never did an ROI on that. Maybe they figured out on the edges. So we're not there at the moment. We have to calculate the ROI. But in a few years' time, the idea of, do you do an ROI for an accounting system? No, you just do it. And that eventually, having visibility of where things are, people were like, they went through COVID and they didn't know where the face masks are. They went through COVID and they were injecting themselves with vaccines that had been kept at room temperature so they didn't do any good. Why would anyone do that? It's crazy.
Understood.
Any other questions? Yes.
So where is data stored today, and who's the owner?
Well, that is a really good question. So who owns the data? Where is it stored? So we use a variety of cloud platforms. So AWS are one of our investors. You probably saw that from the slide. So we use AWS, but a lot of our customers don't want to use AWS, so we have a GCP, a Google implementation. The short answer to your question is we don't own the data, we're a pipe. So whoever owns the tag owns the data, and then they decide who they want to share it with. We are custodians for a while, we pass the data on. And today it's a public cloud, but I would say next year we'll start doing private clouds, and that's required for defense, and we already have defense customers. So, yeah, good question. Anyone got anything else? All right, well, I really appreciate your giving us your time. It's the most valuable thing you have. We appreciate it, and thanks again.